And welcome to the Wednesday, July 12th meeting of the Fitchburg City Council Finance Committee. I now call this meeting to order. Members present this evening are myself, Anthony Zarella, Councillor Boschman, and Councillor Squalia participating remotely. We will have a brief public forum. Any member of the audience wishing to address the committee may approach the center podium, identify themselves by name and city of residence and the agenda item on which you'd like to speak, and address the committee for not more than 2 minutes.
Jacqueline Wetchy, Fitchburg resident, speaking on agenda items 196-23 and 197-23. Here is over $100,000 in unnecessary and inflationary spending. In case you've forgotten, trees are the enemy. Remember in the wake of the 2008 ice storm how trees came down on our electric lines? People were without power, without heat, and those on wells without water for up to 2 weeks in the middle of winter. All the fallen trees created a big mess, and FEMA had to come in and haul them away. Tree roots also cause our sidewalks to buckle. If we're going to plant anything, it should be shrubs, like lilacs, forsythias, and rhododendrons that can grow tall enough to create shade, but not so tall as to get tangled in the utility wires. Mountain laurel would work in our higher elevations. People in Boston who come up with these tree-hugging ideas don't think about those of us living in Unitil land. But you live here, and you should reject these wasteful expenditures that will cause more harm than good.
Any further public comment at this time? Seeing none, we'll proceed with our agenda. We have 4 items on the agenda this evening, and Councillor Squalia, I'll just let you know, wave your hand pretty clearly if you need to speak, because I don't have my laptop in front of me, so I might not see you out of the corner of my eye otherwise.
Okay, you got it. Thank you.
Excellent. All right, first we have 18423, order that there be and hereby is transferred from within the sum of $26,684.40, same to be transferred from Community Development Block Grant COVID-19 Food Insecurity Assistance and Community Development Block Grant COVID-19 Business Loans and Grants, and credited to Community Development Block Grant COVID-19 Rental and Utility Assistance. I have here a letter from the mayor, but since we have Ms. Murphy here, I'll just let her say her piece.
Sure. We have a little bit, in total, it's about $53,000 and change in CDBG COVID-related money. If we don't get it spent, it will be taken back by HUD. After a thorough review and talking to some of our subrecipients, the highest need seems to be around housing and utility assistance still. So we're proposing to move these monies that have just been sitting, not being spent, into housing and utility assistance.
All right. Questions from councillors?
Make a motion. Move to 18423.
I have a motion and second, and seeing that there is unanimous consent, it is approved.
You need a pen?
Yeah, actually, that way. Oh, okay, never mind. I've got one. Thanks, Paul. Didn't want to leave you without one for minutes.
Okay.
Oh, you forgot everything today.
Yeah. It happens sometimes. Next up, we have 18523. Order that there be and hereby is transferred from within the sum of $57,651.72, same to be transferred from CDBG Year 47 Streetscapes Project and credited to CDBG Year 48 Parks and Playgrounds.
So this transfer is out of Year 47. Those funds were allocated in case we needed them for the Main Street conversion. And a couple other projects. They weren't needed, so they're just sitting there. And the Year 48 Parks and Playgrounds projects, that includes Park Hill Park playground equipment replacements and Mama Fitz Park on Green Street, I believe. Both of those need more money because things cost more than they used to. Playground equipment is not an exception, and so we're proposing to transfer the funds with your approval.
All right, questions from councilors? Councilor Boschman. And I see Councilor Squalia.
I'll let the young lady go first. I yielded for.
All right, Councilor Squalia.
Thank you, Liz. What additional will be done with these funds for the playground equipment, or is it just a cost overrun and we're going to have to supplement this with additional funds?
It's the latter. It's cost overruns. The equipment that we had budgeted for is costing more than anticipated, and so we're looking to move this money into that bucket for that reason.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Boschman.
So all that equipment you put up there already, that's already sitting on that playground up in my ward, is not paid for? You still getting?
No.
Or are you talking about new stuff coming in?
Additional equipment.
Okay.
So the accessible park, Pollock Park, is one element. Now we're replacing some of the other existing equipment with new equipment.
When are you going to start that? Is it already started?
I don't have a. That's okay. If you know, please.
Green Street is scheduled to start construction in the fall. I believe the Pollock Playground as well, that's stage 2 of that design around that time frame. I know it's nothing's happening over the summertime. It was more because I know equipment was a 6-month backlog of ordering, so by the time that gets in, it's scheduled around mid to late fall to start installation.
Okay. All right. Make a motion, we accept.
Second.
I have a motion and second. And if there is no objection, it is approved unanimously. Next, we have 19623, order that the City of Fitchburg hereby approves the expenditure of funds from the Massachusetts Executive Office of Energy and Environmental Affairs FY24 Greening the Gateway Cities Program Implementation Grant Award in the approximate amount of $88,650 for the purpose of said grant, which is to achieve tree planting, promote stewardship and appreciation of Fitchburg's trees for the environmental benefits and energy savings that a healthy tree canopy brings to the residents of the city. Go ahead.
Thank you, Councilor. So this first grant is, there's 2 grants basically from the DCR. This one is the implementation grant. This is a grant that goes outside of the environmental justice zone. The areas that I targeted for this grant are Coolidge Park and Park Hill. It was somewhat of a long process, but a very educational and helpful process because I met with a certified tree arborist, Larissa. She is stationed out of Leominster, Mass. From DCR. She came out and met with me on several different occasions. She actually leads and plants the Greening the Gateways community program. So I met with her. We went over a whole bunch of different things, species of trees, where trees should go, the restrictions, the pluses, the minuses, the negatives, and then we went as far as so much that the director of this program from Boston, she came out and met with me at both parks as well, and we walked both parks, identified areas of need, and ways that we can address them. So a lot of, at Coolidge Park, there's about almost 20 stumps that are there. Those stumps are now going to be removed and placed with trees designed for particular areas. So these trees are not trees that are growing 50 feet tall near power lines. They're not willow trees that have a very large root system that's going to go under the ground and start pushing things up. In fact, especially at Coolidge Park, where we do have a playground, and unfortunately where we don't have, any shade structures, I think it was said too by people that, trees do provide shade. So now we're giving the opportunity. So when these trees do get bigger, we have some shade for not only the kids at the summer playground programs, but the people that are using the parks. I was at the Splash Park at Park Hill, and it was fully packed. And you saw the parents outside along the fence in the shaded areas. The same at the skate camp today. There was about 30 kids participating in the skate camp, and you saw their parents outside along the edge in the shaded areas. So Coolidge, like I said, as I digressed a little bit, but as I said, it's a lot of it is outside around the perimeter. There are some open spots that there's nothing. It's just very wide open, and we're trying to put some trees in place there where eventually they will be blooming and growing and providing not only some nice scenery for the city of Fitchburg and for the park, but provide all the environmental benefits as well. At Park Hill, Councilor Boschman and I have talked on several different occasions. Park Hill has a fence around the perimeter that's a little bit dilapidated, and we're going to remove that. And we're going to be planting specific trees that are not, again, designed not to grow really tall, because we know we have the power lines that are running through Park Hill. So working with DCR, there's a specific list of trees that we can choose from that would fit in that zone. So we have to meet those conditions in order to obtain this grant. And then there are other spaces as you move further into the park away from the power lines that open up to the species of trees that we are allowed to plant. But again, there are certain conditions that we do have to meet and to plant those trees as well. The last piece in this grant, I always felt that whether it was my past life or even in this life, education is huge. The more that tools that someone can put in their toolbox to help those that are on their team, I always felt the better off the people that we're servicing are going to be. So a part of this $88,000 budget is to provide and cover the cost of education to have our current tree warden become a certified tree arborist. One of our other park staff who is bilingual also become educated and become a certified tree arborist, and myself to become a certified tree arborist. So now the city will have, as soon as we finish our education on it, the tree warden is first to start off, but we'll have 3 people that are certified that can go out and provide that service to the community that may have questions, concerns, or just need general education on what is a good tree to plant here, or just give them support. And I felt that was a very big piece, and the DCR felt so as well. They felt that was wonderful, that we wanted to further expand our education and provide that service to the community. So that is the part of this grant, and this grant also is a yearly grant. Like you can apply every year, and when meeting with them at the parks, we kind of expanded out and came up with some other ideas so for future things that we can provide to the community that they were very excited about as well to hear. So I'm looking forward to applying for this grant again next year.
All right, and would it be fair to say, I see Councillor Squalia, thank you, and would it be fair to say then that, especially with the arborist certification, but even prior to that, there will be people, you, your staff, and so forth, who will be viewing these trees on a regular basis, and if they get too close to the power lines, despite the fact that they shouldn't, something will be done about that before it becomes a potential issue, right?
Yes, absolutely. And to further that point, before even applying for this grant, Commissioner Erickson and myself, we reached out to Unitel and told them about the grant that we were applying for, if they had any guidance or information, because we were so, especially at the Park Hill, because there's the power line situation there, we both were concerned. We didn't want to put something in that would cause an issue like that had happened in the ice storm. I mean, we all know, and we relive it in nightmares, what had happened. So, like I said, there are specific conditions and requirements that we have to meet, not only for the DCR grant, but Unitel also has certain species and recommends the certain height of which trees can grow and which trees can be planted in and around areas such as Park Hill where there's power lines. So we will be working with them as well as these trees get planted in.
Thank you. Councillor Squalia?
Thank you. So first of all, the education, I love that idea, and I really appreciate our new tree warden and the parks director, and a multilingual opportunity will be available for becoming a certified arborist. This grant sounds fantastic, and I like utilizing it in the Park Hill Park and Coolidge. is there a match on this grant, or is the city otherwise providing funds to supplement this grant?
For this grant, no. This grant that's where we're getting that to fund basically what I had laid out in the budget, the purchasing of the trees, planting of the trees. Basically, they're cutting us that big check to do all this. The only piece with the educational is, just as the city and even other organizations, I'm sorry, Sam, I'm trying to look at you and look ahead, is that with like any educational piece, that we have to show proof of completion and then show them that, and then we'll be reimbursed for those.
That sounds great. So at Coolidge Park, you mentioned replacing a number of stumps. I know that there were a number of old dead pine trees near the old volleyball court, that kind of grove there. Is that specifically where you're talking about the stumps? So I have the map, and I will be more than happy to forward it to you along, and I apologize that I don't have it here with me to pop up on the screen, and I'll give it to Councilor Boschman and you as well, Councilor Zarella. I do apologize for that. I want to say what I did for the most part at Coolidge Park was around the outside of the perimeter on the walking path where a lot of the stumps that were located around there, and to provide specifically in the area where youth soccer participates, there wasn't a lot of shade in certain areas, so there were clumps of trees that we felt that would be in the best interest to put them some there, so that when they do grow, they will provide shade, some type of shade for the people watching the soccer games as well. Well, James, that's the perfect segue to my second question, which was, we have that large open area at Coolidge that is kind of very multi-use, multi-purpose for the youth soccer or other organizations. Have you discussed the potential of laying out groves of trees with the multiple organizations today in that location? Soccer, potential for the future, because there are not many other parks that we have in the city of Fitchburg that are so wide open and allow that kind of, use without trees.
You're absolutely correct, and none of the trees, again, they'll be on the perimeter of everything, so nothing is going like in the middle of that big open space. And in fact, on Mr. Kuchmarek, we have an earmark, hopefully coming in August, to fence in that area at Coolidge Park for youth soccer. So it's a big one that should be coming in August that he requested and put in. So we're looking forward to putting that in. And again, all these trees, for the majority of it, are on the outside of the perimeter walking path, replacing the stumps. If they are in an open space, it's in an open space where, like, there's that tiny gap in between two outfields of the baseball field, or in like the walking path as it turns, there's like a bigger, like that loop part that's just basically dead space, that there's no soccer net or no corner flag or anything like that going there. It's part of a turn. So for putting a tree there to provide some things like that, none of the tree placement would interfere with the function of any of the use of any of the fields there.
Mainly on the perimeter. That
Mainly
sounds
on the
great.
perimeter, yes.
Thank you, James. This sounds fantastic.
Councilor Boschman?
First of all, I want to make it very clear here. When we had the ice storm and the trees came down, it was lack of maintenance. Unitil never cut their trees. I want to make it very clear. And they didn't cut them back against the wires. That's number one. Number two, coming back to, we'll start with Coolidge Park. I know you said the outside perimeter, and you're talking about tree stumps. But how close are you going to come to the walking track when you're talking about outside perimeter, especially where the open field is? I walk down there sometimes, and there's tree stumps right there that they're going to be taken out.
Going to be taken out as part of this grant, yes.
But my question to you is, it's not going to be too close to the walking trail, right? Because in case you want to expand,
correct,
and make it better than what it is right now.
You're absolutely correct, Counselor. So, and again, I'll be more than happy if any of you, I'll take the time, if you are available during the day, I'll walk both sites with anyone that is interested and point out and go over basically what DCR went over with me. I'll be more than happy to do that with you. The idea was, yes, like to widen that track or to make it a little more sturdy, because I know in some areas around Coolidge that track goes, and as you turn, it kind of dips a little bit and then goes back up. And we're hopefully going to be working on that by the end of the summer. We're trying to get caught up on some other stuff, but that is in the plans to add some more stone dust. But to your point, we're not going to be putting, if this is the end of the track, the tree's not going right here.
Okay.
Like, we might remove the stump here, and the tree would then go in the general area. But again, we're not going to we don't want to create a problem, put something that's going to create a problem. We want to put something in that's going to provide, like I said, not only shade, beauty, but be something functional that is not going to be causing a problem to the city and to the Parks Department.
And then, and you talked about a fence inside the soccer area?
Yes.
You're talking about, I hope it's not a chain link fence. I hope it's something halfway decent,
As in,
like wrought iron or something like that.
you want, okay.
You know what I mean?
And that's to be determined and discussed. Many of the youth soccer fields outside of Fitchburg, all of them are chain link fences. That's one of the more affordable type of fencing. When you get into the wrought iron, it becomes expensive. So the best that we can do with the budget that we have, that's what we're trying to do. But we're also trying to, you know as well as I do, the shortest distance from point A to point B is a straight line.
Yeah.
So I love the fact that we have the dog park, but people who park up near the Civic Center, they don't, not everybody, but some people don't walk all the way around on the outside track to the dog park. They take the shortest distance from point A to point B, which that's the easiest way to do it. So if we were to give youth soccer a designated inside area, and it's just not the dog park, I mean, everybody, like I said, walks in and across that because it's just one wide open field. So if we were to enclose an area that's designated just for youth soccer, I think we have the opportunity to grow a little bit more grass there and to provide a little more of a facility that is easier to maintain because it's in an enclosed area as opposed to wide open for everything and anything to come through and across and whatnot.
On the maintenance of these trees, is it going to be the Parks Department crew maintaining the trees, or is it going to be the DPW?
For maintaining,
Watering.
as in maintaining watering?
Watering, and I presume what I read here, you got to stake them and set them up straight. So you're going to have ropes in 4 different places.
Correct.
So the tree grows
So
straight.
the Parks Department, they'll be installing them later on. We're already past the season to install that, so this is more of a late fall, early spring type of installation of these trees. They don't all need to go in once, but we're going to be installing them and then working with, is it the Rotary Club that has the water tank
Oh, okay, yeah.
to help?
Fitchburg East Rotary?
Yes, so the water tank that we have, using that to help fill up the bags of water. They'll come with the,
Bags,
yes.
the gator bags.
The gator bag, yeah, the ones that you see on the trees, they'll all have those. And again, that's all part of meeting the conditions for this grant.
Now, I'm not, don't get me wrong, I don't know that much about trees. All I know is they give shades, and there's some beautiful trees, and they look marvelous. I like them. Some of them I really like, and I'm not a tree hugger, but I get impressed by them. They look like they're holding up the world. Are we going to put, since you're putting a lot of these trees on the outside skirts of the parks, they're going to be, how do I want to say, when a snow plow goes by and they push the snow up, when a guy comes up and they throw the snow into the field, now you get rock salt, you get calcium, you get everything but natural good stuff for the trees. Are we going to are you going to get hardy, good trees?
Yes, the trees that, the trees that are going to be, they are going to be hardy. And again, to the planting of the trees, they're not going to be, there should be a very decent space in between where the road is, the sidewalk is, and then where the tree is planted. Like I said, it's not going to be, here's the sidewalk and the trees going right next to it. There is like a buffer where that hole is going to be dug in between the two.
No, but if I'm using a snow blower on the sidewalk and I get an open field, I'm not going to put it in a pile, I'm going to blow it.
Right, you're going to blow it over. I mean, but these trees, they're designed, again, there's certain trees that we do have to pick from, but we're going to pick the hardiest ones that we can too, that would encounter the elements of New England and especially the elements of Fitchburg, Massachusetts.
I definitely want to go on Park Hill and look at, well, both parks I want to do.
Yeah, absolutely. That is not a problem.
Oh, when you're not busy. And
Yeah, this week is everything's starting up, so and going. So definitely this summer we will. I have no, like I said, I have no issue walking around both parks and showing you and talking about the plan.
I make a motion that we accept. I make a motion we accept. Okay.
I have a motion and second. If there is no objection, then it is unanimous. 197-23. The City of Fitchburg hereby approves the expenditure of funds from the same grant in the approximate amount of $12,944 for the purpose of said grant, which is to assist DCR Urban and Community Forestry as they plant trees in target neighborhoods to increase tree canopy cover for environmental and energy efficiency benefits.
So this grant is the Greening the Gateway Cities grant. This grant is specifically designed to cover the environmental justice zone of Fitchburg. So there's only certain parks and certain areas that we can plant and do things with trees. The parks that are included within this, the Upper Common, Goodrich, Haworth Park, the bottom part, and the park near St. Anthony's, right across the street. And
Bartley Nolan.
Bartley Nolan, because it's like Babe DeCons or Bartley. It's like I got two names for that one. Just clump it all together, make one big name. The Green Street Park, and the strip right across from Dunkin' Donuts where we lost two trees. Those are all included within this grant. So this grant, Haworth Park was one of those parks that, due to the ice storm, had some very large trees very close to the sidewalk and very close to the power lines. Those trees have since been removed and stumps have remained. Part of this grant is to get those stumps removed from there, and trees will be planted, but not as close as they once were. They'll be brought in a little bit so they're not encroaching over the power lines or encroaching into the sidewalk. There is a hill, kind of like a berm, near the basketball court at that park, and we're going to put some trees there because that is just pretty much one big open field. So we're meeting with that again with the arborist and the lady from DCR. We came up with a plan to address that. Bartley Nolan, they actually have just finished planting a couple of trees that were from the last Greening the Gateway Cities grant that the city had. They had finished planting some there. They actually provided a nut tree there, again, to increase, just to help out with feeding nature and just provide, people can actually go and, if they really wanted to, if they're not allergic to it, they can eat the nuts that fall. And Goodrich, which was one big open space, I've spoken to you, Mr. Councilor Boschman, a couple times as to my ideas and plans for Goodrich, and we started to basically create a perimeter with trees from them. And then also on Goodrich, there is that hill that's near the playground where trees, again, old, not maintained, had fallen during the ice storm, where there's just stumps lying there now. We're going to, again, remove those stumps and plant appropriate plantings there, tree-wise, to provide as much shade for the people that use the parks, eventually. These trees, we're not putting in 20-foot trees right off the bat. I mean, they do have to take a little time to grow, but...
Councilor Brochman?
I got one thing to say. I'm really hoping when you plant the trees, that you're picking some really good hardy trees, and I say this wholeheartedly, because I have on one of my properties a Japanese maple tree, and because of the heavy wet snow,
Yeah,
they broke.
they broke.
And it literally split. So I don't want to be spending money and all of a sudden these trees that we planted and they get as high as that over there, and all of a sudden, because we get a wet, heavy snow, the branches are coming down and they break, and then we got to take them away.
No, I understand that, and as long as, on top of showing you around, taking a field trip, I do have the list, it's a public list that DCR provides. I'll be more than happy to share that with you as well, so you can see the choices that we are able to choose from of the trees.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Do you guys get COMP involved in this, since they know more about the environment than a guy like me or Anthony or Sam Squalia, and they know more about trees and all of that stuff? COMP?
I didn't, because I was working directly with DCR and the people that operate and conduct the tree program, because they came out and physically met with me and went over everything under the sun on several different occasions. And where the tree arborist from Leominster, she runs the entire Greening the Gateway Cities program throughout central Massachusetts.
All right, I'm not finding fault.
No. I'll be more than happy. That's not, I will absolutely, if you want me to go down that road, I will be more than happy to do so. I just felt where I met with the professionals that are providing the grant that I was safe to do so, and reaching out to, like I said, Unitel with Commissioner Erickson regarding, planting close to the power lines and things like that, and what the parameters are for that. I did take all those steps. If I missed a step by not asking them, I'll be more than happy to reach out if you feel that there's a need to do so.
No, don't get me wrong, I'm not finding fault. I think you're doing a marvelous job. I'm just asking that question because we do have COMP, and we just we are hiring somebody in conservation, so I think that would be a bit of helping hand that way. That's the whole purpose of us going with a conservation person.
So I can speak to that. Unless the trees are being planted near a resource area, a waterway, a wetland, something like that, they don't really have a jurisdictional role, but I'm sure that they would be happy to hear about it. So, but they don't have an approval role in this process unless it was near a resource, a natural resource.
Because the reason why I'm asking all these questions is because I know up there on the hill up here, what I'm talking, McIntyre Road and that, they cut down a lot of trees. And I just want to let people know, some of the trees that they cut down, they take about 55,000 gallons of water a year. An oak tree, I think it's an oak tree, drinks about 55,000 gallons of water a year, 1 year. So, and where we have a problem down on the John Beach Highway area, I think, and you want to plant trees, and basically Coolidge Park is a low area, and that river I've never been down there if the river get up high enough and they went on the field. I can't answer that, but maybe we want to look at some of that stuff too. But the trees that get taken out over here on Main Street, didn't they get hit by a car?
They did get hit by a car.
And we didn't go after the insurance on this?
We did not know.
Counselor, we're getting a little far afield.
I know, but I'm just asking the question.
Just ask him after we gavel out, okay?
I was going to say, I can't answer that question if you need to know, and I have no problem staying after Counselor to answer that for you.
All right. If you get any questions, Anthony or Sam, I make a motion we accept.
Counselor Squalia, I believe, had a question.
Yes. So this 13,000 or 12.9 thousand, is this a supplemental addition to the Greening the Gateway Cities grant, or is this the FY24 portion of the Greening the Gateway Cities grant?
I apologize, Counselor. I missed the first part. I didn't hear you. I apologize. I'm trying to hear you.
This 12.9 thousand, is this a supplemental in addition to our original appropriation, or is this just an FY24 appropriation?
This grant, this is the portion that they're providing. So the work that is done by the parks crew is obviously, they would be doing some of this work anyways. That's our portion to support this grant. This is the portion that the state is supplementing us to do these works. We don't, this money is more towards labor costs and things like that. They supply in any of the environmental justice zone area. The Greening the Gateway Cities program provides the trees, the bags, the stakes, and the installation of them. So this money is to help cover the cost of the stump grinding, the removal of any, like the stump that stands out in Upper Common. the row of trees in the beginning of it, the first part of that first tree is just a stump. So taking that out, like the cost, this helps offset the cost of the labor from the parks guys to do that.
So this is supplemental to supplement the plan to put the trees
Yes.
in the park, and it supplements the park portion of that installation.
Yes.
And Councillor, I'd like to just jump in briefly because I think I inadvertently introduced some confusion on this issue, because when I was reading the very, very long name of the grant, I erroneously read them both as being 196 and 197 as being portions of the same grant. They're actually
different
not.
ones.
It's the FY or the 196 was the Greening the Gateway Cities Program Implementation Grant. This is the Greening the Gateway Cities Program Partnership Grant. So they are actually
They're two different ones.
separate funding sources. That's my
Yes. Thank you. And my second question was, when does this Greening the Gateway Cities program end? And are there still funds available for those environmental justice neighborhoods to request trees? Like if you have a home in the environmental justice census tract, can you request a tree still?
Yes, that's not this grant. That's a
not
different
these.
part of that. It's so the Greening the Gateway Cities program, like that's the big umbrella of it. These two grants are different parts of that bigger program. So people can actually reach out to growing places and still request trees. I believe also we do receive the DPW Unitel provides us with X number of trees as well. We haven't requested them yet, but I know last year DPW did get trees for residents of Fitchburg if they wanted them to come and pick up at no cost to the residents.
And when does this end? When is the set term
This
of
grant
this particular grant?
the Greening the Gateway Cities program is just a continuous program. They're actually looking, Larissa, the tree warden that we met with, she's looking to expand that zone in Fitchburg so more people could take advantage of reaching out to get trees, and for cities like us to expand to other areas, just not limited to that specific zone that we're kind of constrained to right now.
Okay, and under the smaller umbrella of the 196 and 197, is there a timeline on the implementation of these two petition orders?
2030.
Weather permitting, like I said, we're not planning them in this middle of the summertime. The intent is to start mid to late fall and then finish up in spring, weather permitting wise, to get these trees and plants installed so that we can go after, again, like I had mentioned, especially the implementation grant, that larger grant, so that I can do more work with educational aspects, nature aspects, shrubbery, plantings, some berms, and some other things at Park Hill and Coolidge.
Yes, thanks, James. My question was specifically if there's a deadline that we must complete
There is a
this by.
deadline.
Yes, so we're going to be finished by the end of the spring. So we have a year.
Okay, 1 year. Got it.
Sorry, I assumed that when saying by fall and finishing up in the spring. That's my fault, Sam.
I move that we accept 197-23.
I think Councillor Brochman has another question.
Just to let you know, June 30th, 2024.
Yeah.
June 30th,
Okay.
2024.
Thank you, Counselor.
You're welcome.
All right,
Thanks,
so I have a
Anthony.
motion. Do I have a
Second.
second? I have a motion and second. If there is no objection, it is unanimously approved. That concludes our agenda.
Make a motion, we adjourn?
Second.
I have
Thank
a
you.
motion and second, and we are adjourned.